This past week, 3 suspects were arrested for first-degree murder in connection with last month's murder of 30-year-old Bernardo Pantaleon. Police believe he was targeted because of his sexuality and found dead, naked, and mutilated. They say the suspects also sent photos of Pantaleon's body to his family through social media. Joining me once again for a legal deep dive is Hector Diaz of Diaz Law. Hector, this is such a heinous, awful crime. And on top of that, sending those social media messages, I just can't even fathom. But we're going to get to that part in just a moment. But talk about what constitutes a hate crime. And does Arizona actually have a law for hate crime?
Quick answer, no. We don't. Arizona doesn't have a specific statute that deals with just, charging a hate crime. What we do have is a statute that allows the judge to enhance punishment because the offense was committed, for some hatred or malice based on that victim's protected status, whether it's because of religion or whether it's because of, sexual orientation or something like that, right? Where, it's really something that the court will consider to enhance and maybe give more prison time than they otherwise would have.
So if it's not deemed a hate crime, then what could you be charged with instead of that?
So here, these individuals, and I had an opportunity to review the investigative information. It's horrific, some of the information that's in here. You're looking at murder. You're looking at conspiracy to commit murder. And so these charges, when the prosecutors prepare this case and present this case, they're going to also include to the judge that there were some other extenuating facts and circumstances here that give context to why this occurred.
Okay, so let's go back to those social media messages that were sent to his family. Again, it's just ludicrous. I can't believe in this day and age, people would still think that this is going to be seen by anyone and everyone, and that could be held against me.
Especially law enforcement. And,
yeah.
Law enforcement are, when they're piecing together the facts in terms of, their investigation, they'll often, cell phones, those communications, that's where they look first.
Right.
And, these and again, I had a chance to look at some of the investigative information, and this was just incredible, what they were talking about, the information they were just putting out. And this is going to be used against them in prosecution.
And all 3 of them confessed to the murder. So would this be a slam dunk?
I think if you had a prosecutor here, they would say there's never such a thing as a slam dunk.
Yeah.
But, this is a kind of case given what we preliminarily, again, innocent until proven guilty, let's make that point. But this is going to be if the facts are true, this is going to be a very difficult case going forward.
All right, I want to get to our next case here. The family of a Maricopa County judge is now suing GrubHub after a fatal car crash. Last year, Judge Rosa Meraz died after she was struck by a car near 56th Street and Camelback Road. Now her family is taking legal action against not only the driver, but the food delivery service as well, because the driver was completing an order at the time of the deadly crash. So, they're arguing that this was because of distracted driving. I get going after the driver, but how do you go after the company GrubHub when that's their business?
I think the lawyers here are saying their business is also to get you your food as quickly as possible. And in this case, the lawyers likely are going to make the argument at the expense of the public and at the expense of the public's safety, in that, they're promoting, this culture of get the food as quick as possible, let's move on to the next client, and rush. And so...
How do you change your business model, though? I mean, if you have to look at your phone, and I understand you shouldn't be doing it while you're driving, but isn't that, going up against a giant?
Absolutely. And again, the defense lawyers in this case, conversely, are going to say, we have absolutely investigated this. We found, based on our experts looking at, the culture, the work culture here, we're not promoting this concept of distracted employees. We're, providing safe, transportation of your food over to your homes. And so, likely what you're going to see is experts really chiming in here saying, no, GrubHub did nothing wrong in terms of evaluating this case, and we're likely bringing in, evidence in terms of other past issues that they've had where maybe the driver was found responsible as, engaging in whatever rogue criminal acts versus say, this was really something that GrubHub did, because of a culture of promoting quick delivery.
So I'm curious about the judge. I mean, she was a trailblazer as well, being one of the first Asian American women judges in our state, in our county. And the fact that she's a judge, does that carry more weight and severity to this case? Will the lawyers be looking more at that?
Really quick, I had the honor of appearing in front of Judge Mraz, and really a fantastic person, fantastic judge. It's something I think that the plaintiff's lawyers will bring out in terms of presenting, the picture of who she was to, if it gets to a jury, and also showing the loss that the family suffered here.
Yeah.
In, somebody who was an esteemed, fantastic person,
Right.
and a pillar of their community.
Right, right. Okay, Hector, thank you so much.